Hello everyone, welcome to today's video. This is Shanmugaraj. So as I promised earlier, I'm planning to do videos on project management and agile areas. Today we're going to look at a very important topic called Kanban, one of the widely used agile methods both in IT as well as non-IT scenarios, right? So we're going to this I think is very important video who is interested in implementing operations workflow in our company. Today we're going to cover what is Kanban, what is in it for a leadership perspective or a management perspective, and what are the components in Kanban, and what are the benefits of Kanban, and we're going to discuss each component and how to implement them, and we're going to talk about Kanban metrics and then how to measure and continuously improve using Kanban. This is one of the widely used methods in manufacturing, lean manufacturing method. Even in today, where it started using in IT, most of the production operations in IT they're using Kanban. You can combine Scrum and Kanban together. You can use that called as Scrumban. It's widely used in IT industry, right? So let's look at what is Kanban. This is an original Kanban system sourced from Toyota Global website. Actually, the lean manufacturing and just-in-time Kanban system is created by Toyota. So this is an original Kanban system, like a physical Kanban system, right? And today we are using virtual and digital system as well. So this is how the flow of the work is being, the person who is managing the work moving from one state to another state, right? This is an original Kanban system from Toyota website. Let's understand what is Kanban. Think Kanban is a method that helps teams facilitate the flow of the value, right? Flow of the value nothing but your flow of the work items, the smoothness of it, by visualizing the workflow. So how do you facilitate? Ideally, the Kanban system is facilitating the flow of the value. Flow of the value we already discussed. Agile, all the agile methods is based on value based delivery methods, right? We're not even nowadays we're not even talking about building a great product. We're talking about you know providing a great value or bigger value to customers at earliest possible situation. So how do I facilitate, right, as a service manager? How do I facilitate the flow of value? There are four things they're talking about. Visualizing the workflow is very very important for Kanban. Visualizing the workflow is very very important. And then establishing WAP limits, right? Work in progress limit that restricts the amount of work we'll be doing, right? Measuring the throughput, how much of user stories or how much of cards were able to complete within a time box, and then continuously improving their process. So it's very very important. The color, the items I highlighted in yellow, right, is very very important. You are facilitating as a service manager, you are facilitating the flow of the value. How you are facilitating? By visualizing the workflow, by establishing WAP limits, measuring throughputs, and continuously improving. Right? It's simply four steps. Right? Try to visualize the workflow, establish WAP limit, measure the throughput, continuously improve. Right? Throughput will tell you the smoothness of your flow. Kanban has four principles and six core practices. The principles are: start with what you do now, right? Wherever you are the process, current process, what you are doing, start with that. And agree to pursue incremental evolutionary change. That is what very important in agile methods. Agree to pursue incremental evolutionary change. Respect the current process and roles and responsibilities. Encourage acts of leadership at all levels. Try to improve our leadership at every level, right? Maybe at lower level, middle level, and higher level, upper level. So every level you need to encourage acts of leadership, right? To achieve this principle, what are the practices I'm going to implement? 6 practices is involved in Kanban. Visualizing the workflow, limit work in progress, manage the flow, make process policies explicit, establish feedback loops, and improve collaboratively. So we're going to discuss all the 6 practices one by one. The first one is the visualizing the workflow. Right? This is a simple Kanban board. Right? You are requesting now the request is coming into the workflow. You are working on it and you are making it done. Right? So to visualize your process in a Kanban system, you will need a board with cards and columns. That's what we seen in the first slide of original Kanban system, right? In Prida website. So this is an it's a Kanban application or a tool. You can use it. Now, most of the tools like Jira or Azure DevOps is giving this option of having a Kanban card. So each columns on the board represents a step in our workflow, right? What are the different steps involved? So for a software development, might have requirement analysis, design, implementing, testing, deployment. That you can have it, right? So each Kanban card represents a work item. In a software scenario, you can call use user story as a Kanban card actually, right? The second practice is limiting the work in progress. So you are putting that, we can put a WAP both in waiting and non-waiting columns. So here they introduced WAP in waiting columns. That means they are given, 3 as a WAP limit in waiting column. What does it mean? That there are 4 cards that said it indicates that WAP limit is exceeded here, right? So WAP limit is establishing WAP limit is very very important in Kanban, right? One of the Kanban's primary function is to ensure manageable number of active items in progress. So you need to ensure that your active items are manageable, right? The active items which are in progress, it should be manageable at any one point of time. At any point of time. If there are no WAP limits, if there are no work in progress limits, you are not doing Kanban at all, right? So how does it helping you, right? Switching the team's focus halfway through generally harm the process. Multitasking is a sure route to generating waste and inefficiency, right? Focus on one thing and complete that work and take the next one. It's a simple neural technique. That's Kanban is advocating for it. So limiting WAP means implementing a pull system on parts or complete workflow. You can implement WAP entire workflow or you can implement in one certain columns. So setting maximum items per stage ensure that code is only pulled into the next step when there is an available capacity, right? So in the previous slide we have seen that the WAP limit kept 3, right? So only when available capacity is available, then only they'll pull the next record. Such constraints will quickly eliminate the problem areas in your flow so you can identify and resolve them, right? So that means either you need to increase your resources or you have to optimize your flow or optimize your requesting, so that your team members are not overloaded, right? So WAP limit is very very important by implementing a pull system. No, so there are only 2 people in our team, they can take only 2 items in any point of time. If the third request comes, it has to wait. The third request has to wait for it. Only when the person completes that any one of the items, right? Then the other items getting pulled, right? So that is the reason of WAP limit. Managing the flow, right? So managing the flow about managing the work. Right, by flow what we mean is that the movement of work items through the production process, right? Your movement of your raw material, your movement of actual product from stage 1 to stage n, it is called, it's about managing the workflow. So one of the main goals of implementing Kanban is to create a smooth and healthy flow, right? Instead of micromanaging and keep them busy, right? It's about focusing on managing the work processes, and understanding how to get the work faster through the system, right? So that would mean that Kanban system is creating value more quickly, right? Make processes and policies explicit. All right. So if everyone is familiar with a common goal, then you will be able to work and make decisions regarding a positive impact. So you cannot improve something which you don't understand. So this is why your process should be clearly defined, published, and socialized. People would not associate and participate in something they do not believe would be useful. Right? So it's a simple neural psychological technique that making process policies explicit. Explicitly tell your team the way of working, the ground rules, right? Your procedures and policies, different steps, common practices, standard practices, best practices. So publicize that, socialize it. Right? It's very, very important. Feedback loops, right? Implementing feedback loops is a mandatory steps in agile as a compound as well. So one of the such feedback loop is daily stand-up meeting. Very famous one is a sprint retrospective. So retrospective is a very famous feedback loop mechanism. Even the sprint reviews is a feedback mechanism for the product, right? So daily stand-up meeting, you know that, everybody came to the same place, same time, 15 minutes in front of the Kanban board. They talk about what happened yesterday, what is they going to do today, any obstacles or something, right? And there are also service delivery review, operations review, strategy reviews, and risk review meetings. So apart from your retrospectives and daily stand-ups, you can have these kind of reviews as well, right? So this is how the feedback loops is being established in Kanban. The final practice is improving collaboratively using models and scientific method. You can use Pareto analysis, you can use fishbone diagram, right? So the way to achieve continuous improvement and sustainable change within an organization is through a shared vision of a better future and a collective understanding of the issues that need fixing. Right? You need to have a shared vision of better future and a collective understanding of the issues that need fixing. Right? Very, very important. Shared understanding of the goals, shared understanding the workflow and the processes and the risks. And then that helps you to build a shared comprehension of the problem. So that is the reason we advocate to attend retrospectives and reviews. Everybody should attend that to our collective understanding, right? Collective comprehension is very, very important. Right, so we have discussed, what is a Kanban and what discussed about what are the four principles, and in elaborative manner we discussed 6 practices in Kanban. So in the top 3 practices really coming from Kanban, if you want to use Scrum, if you, I mean, in my company we are using, right, we are, engineering layer, we are putting Kanban for operations, and then we wrap it up the Scrum actually. So last 3 practices, right, that, feedback mechanism, your continuous improvement, right, and visibility, you can use Scrum actually. So that's why it called Scrum actually. The benefits of Kanban is everybody's on the same page. It reveals the bottlenecks in the workflow because WAP limit it helping you to figure it out bottleneck, brings flexibility. The team gets more responsive. The focus on the current work, the boost collaboration and the productivity. Right? No multitasking, no wastage of time. Right now we look at main components of Kanban board. Right, the Kanban boards used chord, column, swimlanes, and WP limits. Right, so these are the columns: requested, in progress, and done. And this is the chord, right? The green color, orange colors are chords, nothing but our user stories. And these are the swimlanes, category of the work, and WP limit. All right. So Kanban card is a visual representation. Kanban columns talks about different stage of a workflow. The cards go through the workflow until their full completion. WP limit, they restrict the maximum amount of tasks, right? Limiting WAP allows you to finish the work item faster by helping your team focus only on the current task. That's an idea of WAP limit, right? Kanban swimlanes, these are the horizontal learns you can use to separate different activities, teams, class of service, right? If you want to categorize and separate different activities, teams, and class of service, you can use that. We will see some of the examples as well. This is the basic Kanban board. If you are new to Kanban, if you want to start a basic Kanban board, you can start with that. Requested is one column, in progress is second column, and done is the third column. So very simple, basic Kanban board. Right, so this is a little more advanced or intermediate Kanban board where you are having number of stages like business requirement, ready to start, in progress like development, verification, deployment, and then you are making it done. You also have the swimlanes, right? There's a lane for defects and bugs, there's a lane for features. So that's how you can have divided work types with swimlanes on a Kanban board. So you can create many subsections you want, right? So in progress has development, verification, and deployment, right? As if you need to visualize workflow with a maximum precision. So if you want to have a maximum precision, you can go for subsections. What is a Kanban card? Right? Kanban card is a visual representation of work item. Translated from Japanese, it is literally mean a visual, right? Kan means a visual, bon means a card, actually a visual card, right? A Kanban card contains a valuable information about the task and its status. Right? In our case, in a software scenario or an agile method, it's a user story and its status. And user story, I mean, this particular card will contain a summary of assignment, responsible person, deadline, etc. Right? The definition of WAP is, the acronym WAP stands for work in progress. The WAP is the number of task items that a team is currently working on. It frames the capacity of your team's workflow, right? At any moment, that is the maximum capacity team can work on it. Let's say if my WAP limit is 5, I have 5 team members, everybody take up on work, right? So that's my limit is going to be 5, right? So limiting working progress is one of the core properties of Kanban. It allows you to manage your process in a way that creates a smooth workflow and prevents overloads. That's very important. I don't want my team to get overloaded. Limit your WAP, let the team focus on the current work. Only when they complete, they pull the items from the previous column. How to prioritize to work with Kanban column is, and always keep that top one is the top priority in the order of priority. You can put it top to bottom, right? Top to bottom you can put in, always pick up the top one. The team is instructed to always pick up the top one, right? Top one is always the highest priority, right? So some of the examples of waiting column Kanban, so waiting for approval, right? Something waiting for customer sign off, we can create a column for that, right? During the in progress or something, right? Predictive methods we discussed in a pinbox series, right? The predictive methods where a lot of approval, review, sign offs will be there, right? So you can create a column for that, waiting for approval, waiting for review, right? So you want someone to review it, some of your technical lead, architect, or review it. That's where you are ensuring that quality and everything, right? And waiting for external activity, you are waiting for UX design from some other company. So you can create that, this kind of this many types of waiting columns you can create it. And prioritizing tasks using Kanban swimlanes. You can create, a swimlanes based on priority as well. Expedite as one swimlane, normal priority is another learn, low priority is another one, right? So you can always, inside that you can always pick up the top one always. So depends on that, you can prioritize Kanban board using the swimlane itself. Swimlane can be used as the prioritizing tool for you, a prioritizing mechanism for you, right? These are the types of Kanban class of service for risk management, right? Generally, Kanban defines a 4 class of services for risk management: expedite, fixed delivery date, and standard and intangible. These are the standard swimlanes Kanban is recommending, right? So Kanban class of service allow you to minimize the risk by improving the predictability of workflow, right? So Kanban defines 4 class of service, but you can customize them and you can add new ones according to your needs. It's not a problem at all. But what does it mean? What are the ways of priority they are using? Is one of the mechanism they're using is the cost of delay, right? What is the cost of delay? If if I delay this particular activity or particular card item, what is the impact to the business, right? What is the impact to the company? Right? Accordingly, they are defining the class of service. So expedites is the first type of class of service where the assignments with the highest cost of delay that don't tolerate accumulation of lead time. Right? Something like the system is not working, there is a breakdown of the system. The system is outage. Right? Outage of the system is very expedient. You have to complete that work within 30 minutes or 20 minutes. Right? So an impact of outage in a particular real-time system is very high. You might have an impact on your market share, impact your competitiveness. There is a next class of service, a fixed delivery date, and assignments with a fixed delivery date. Right now, there may be 10 days of work, 7 days. Every 7 days, you can deliver something. Right? That has a higher cost of delay. Right? It's not highest one, but high cost of delay. The standard one, the majority of assignments with load medium contest, the load medium cost of delay that tolerate longer lead time actually, the standard works actually, and intangible, and the assignment is the low cost of delay. So Kanban, based on the cost of delay is very very important tool, using cost of delay as for our risk management, and try to put your class of services as Swimlanes, and accordingly you can categorize and you can prioritize that. So it's very very easy to understand way of managing your prioritization, right? So now we look at the Kanban metrics actually. So what are the different metrics available in Kanban? What is the lead time? Lead time is one of the important metrics. The lead time is the period between the new task appearance in a workflow and final departure from the system, right? So the moment you receive a ticket from your system in your system, and then you are completing, right, moment you mark it done, the difference between arrival and departure is called your lead time, right? What is the cycle time? The cycle time is the difference between the moment it departs and moment you take the work actually, right? So you would have got several tickets, right, but you pick up that task only after 2 days because of the WAP limit or because of the resources we have, right? Then you are picking the third day, right, and completing on fifth day, right? Then the difference between the fifth day and third days, it's called cycle time, right? The cycle time exactly talks about your execution time, right? From an internal, engineering perspective, cycle time will be very useful. From a customer perspective, lead time will be useful because customer is worried about only the lead time. Customer is not worried about your cycle time, right? Customer is, moment he places the request, that's the day starts in which he will say that it took 30 days to deliver a car, right? To receive a car. Moment he booked the car, right? The lead time tick starts. That how do you measure the flow? This is one of the examples of cumulative flow diagram. Let's say if you're putting time in an x-axis and number of backlog items and number of cards in the y-axis, and if you're trying to put it in a graph for arrival and departure, it might look like that. Let's say that on the day one you are receiving 7 backlog items, right? At its go, right, at it goes to 16 days, it goes to 30 backlog items, and your departure starts from here actually, right? From the day one you are starting departuring depends on your backlog items. This vertical is called the WAP limit, the horizontal is called lead time. So as a Kanban specialist or a service manager, you might be interested reducing your lead time as well as optimizing your WAP limit, right? So both should be as thinner as possible. So this is another example of cumulative flow diagram, right? So CFD is made of series of lines of areas that show the amount of work in different Kanban states, right? So bigger the areas, the bottlenecks are more. So here the brown areas, which is funnel, and then the blue areas, which is implementing, which is giving bigger area. This is where the bottleneck lies actually, right? Another metric is you can use a cycle time histogram, right? So that tells you that what is the frequency of cycle time happens. Let's say that this X-axis you have cycle time in days, and Y-axis you have frequency of the completed work items. So what does it mean? That the 25 items are completed in one cycle time, and 6 items are completed in 2 days actually. So if you put that in a histogram, and then it tells you that 85% of the items completed in 9 days or less, right? So based on the historical data, right, it gives an idea that 85% of the items completed in 9 days or less. So what does it mean to you is, if there are 100 items comes to you, at least 85% of the items will be completed in 9 days or less than that. You can give an indication to a customer, you can give an indication to a leadership that I will be 85% of the times I will be completing my work within the 9 days, right? Any item receives in my queue, I will be completing within 9 days with the 85% of confidence. That's a predictability you can give it to the leadership and customer. More the better, right? So how to measure, this is the final metric we're going to discuss in Kanban, how to measure the flow efficiency. The flow efficiency nothing but our value added time divided by lead time, and it make it to the 100 actually. So I will give you a simple example here. So explaining it practically, if one of your software engineers need 5 days to complete a feature, but she spends only 1 day in actively working on it, right? Then the flow efficiency of developing this particular feature is 20%, right? She took only 1 day to actually work on it. Rest of the 4 days she's waiting for approvals, she's waiting for something else, she's waiting for she's not even working effectively, right? So value added time comes only where actively work has been happened. See, customer is willing to pay only for valued activity. Customer will not pay for the validation activities, customer will not pay for the waiting columns and all, customer will not ready to pay for it, right? So 80 to 90%, more than 80% is a good flow efficiency. 90 to 95% is a very good flow efficiency you can target, right? It's a very good metric to identify your smoothness of your flow, along with your cycle time, along with your lead time, along with the CFDs. We can use this as well. Okay, so with that we come to a conclusion of detailed discussion on Kanban. I think you would have got a fair idea about implementing Kanban. I think I've given a pretty much a detailed overview on Kanban. What is Kanban? We started with the original Kanban board, which come from Toyota system, right? And we discussed about definition of Kanban, right? And then we discussed about the principles, core principles and SIG practices. We detailed discussed all the SIG practices, and then we discussed about the components of Kanban board, right? Swimlane, WAP limit. How do I use a different class of services, as a swimlanes for you, right? How do I use the cost of delay as the prioritizing mechanism for my class of services? And we discussed about different metrics you can start with, in our Kanban journey. It could be a lead time, it could be a cycle time, it could be a cumulative flow diagram identifying bottlenecks, and it could be flow efficiency, or it could be cycle time histograms. You can look at various metrics to improve our predictability, improve our flow efficiency, improve our smoothness of our flow, right? It's very important that the Kanban is facilitating the flow of the value by visualizing it using Kanban boards and establishing WEP limits, measuring throughput, and continuously improving it. That's about Kanban is all about. We can use various tools like Jira or Azure DevOps, Kanbanize kind of tools. You can use, you can establish it. So it's very well used in production operations in IT industries. All the lean manufacturing system across the world, they're using Kanban and lean together, just in time together, right? So I hope you got a fabulous idea about Kanban and its way of implementing it and way of measuring it, right? So thanks a lot for your patient listening. I hope you loved it, right? I'm looking for feedback, improvements areas on my delivery, on my slides. I would like to listen from you. I love to hear from you, right? So thanks a lot for listening. Hope you like that idea, like this video as well, right? So thanks a lot. Bye bye. I'll see you next videos. Bye bye.